What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. NFL week number 6 is here. This is our player projections episode. And who better to break down player projections than one of the most accurate rankers in the game for, decade plus? The odds maker, Sean Koerner. Sean, you could not apparently set that Puka Nacua prop we had on this pod high enough last week. I foolishly took the under 8.5, and lo and behold, he finishes with 10 catches again. So yeah, you're definitely on the right side of that one. How you feeling heading into week 6?
Pretty good. I can't believe it's already week 6. That was an absolutely insane week. I think that Cardinals Titans game was the craziest game I've ever seen. Just how that whole thing went down was, I don't even know where to begin. With DeMarcado, that touchdown. Tyler Lockett scoring a touchdown the only way he can right now, falling on the ball in the end zone.
I was about to say, what are the odds that is his last career touchdown?
That'd be amazing if it is. It could be. Because, yeah, he doesn't like to get yards after the catch. He's not really an end zone target. So that might end up going down as his final NFL touchdown to a amazing career. But that might be the only way he can get in at this point.
Tyler Boyd was in that role last year. 16 games played, 0 touchdowns. So
Yep.
It's possible.
Very possible.
Imagine just that's wide receivers going to die on the Tennessee. I mean, I guess not only wide receivers, pretty much every coach, every player, the Titans. Yep. I mean, before last week, but they're up right now. And speaking of, we got to do our cardio king, and it's a couple of former Titans who are our cardio kings this week. We'll get to that in a second, but just want to remind you guys that all of our fantasy football content is available right now over at fantasylabs.com. Fantasy Labs NFL includes in-season rankings, waiver wire tips, and more. We've even added a survivor pool tool to help you make informed picks. That's if you didn't go down with the Cardinals losing to the Titans last week. So be sure to use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. That's FLEX20. All right, we're going to get to our top 5 of each skill position guys we're high and low on, and some props. But first, as we do each and every week on this show, Sean, give us our cardio kings, who are the players who ran the most routes at wide receiver and tight end without a target.
Yeah, so tight end, like you alluded, former Titans tight end and Falcons and Browns and Raiders and now Patriots. Austin Hooper had 14 routes last week, 0 targets. And then another former Titan led at wide receiver, Nick Westbrook-Akine, was the cardio king at wide receiver. And it, last couple of weeks, it's like, the top guy had like 14, 12 routes. Nick Westbrook-Akine had a healthy 29 routes with 0 targets. So he is by far the cardio king of week 5.
Yeah, that means what? We're getting a 2 touchdown game incoming this week.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like he was way too quiet. And I don't even think, did Washington catch a ball either? It was a weird week for those ancillary.
After Tyreek being down, it was just the Darren Waller and Jalen Waddle show, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Darren Waller picking up where Jonnu left off last year.
Yeah.
But let's start with quarterback. Top 5 for week 6, Koerner. Who you got?
I got Jaden Daniels, number 1. Holy shit. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Herbert.
I got Allen, Daniels, Mahomes, Hurts, Baker Mayfield. It's getting harder and harder to pay this guy. I don't know how much they run, because I think seems like Bucky's going to miss another week.
Yeah.
So they'll probably just air it out again. But who are you high in at quarterback this week?
Love it. Are you just zeroing out his interceptions? Is that how you get him into the top 5?
He's zeroing out his interceptions.
I know.
He's zeroing out his interceptions.
Yep. He's too good. He's my QB8, but yeah, I love the spicy top 5 call. Hopefully I join you by the end of the week. But I'm high on Dak Prescott. He's my QB7. Against the Panthers this week. He's just playing at an MVP level right now. Threw for 237 yards, 4 touchdowns against the Jets, and this is all without CeeDee Lamb, who I'm projecting not to return this week. If he does, that'd be even more amazing for Dak's value. But this is a matchup against the Panthers where they've been a little bit more of a pass funnel D so far. They rank 24th against the pass, 13th against the run. I think they're going to just continue to have Dak drop back a ton. Obviously, Javante's playing well, but Dak is playing at such a high level right now. I think you could trust him here as a mid-range QB1, and he was actually scrambling a ton. Every time I looked up, he was using his legs, ran 7 times for 28 yards. I remember heading into the season, he was saying he wants to use his legs a bit more. He does have that kind of upside. He just hasn't tapped into it the past few seasons because he's dealt with 2 very significant lower body injuries. But obviously he's feeling good enough to scramble a bit last week. So if we start seeing him, rush for 20 yards a game now, he's legit, top 5 QB in fantasy. But I'm a bit more cautious here. He's my QB7. But again, if you have him, you got to be happy because once CD returns, I think he does have top 5 upside, just considering how well he's playing right now.
Yeah, sometimes with the Cowboys, they've been this team that their offense just kind of goes in a hole and they go on the road. But he went outdoors and lit up that Jets. I mean, everyone's lighting up that Jets defense, but same can be said for Carolina unless you are Michael Penix Jr. And that is a tease for later. But the guy I'm high on, Trevor Lawrence, this week, he is the quarterback 22 in expert consensus at Fantasy Pros. He's my QB 16. And, this is kind of a straightforward week in terms of quarterback rankings. Don't really see guys I'm too far from in terms of consensus in the top 15. But Lawrence, that 6 spot gap, I would expect that to rise. I don't think he should be left on the wire right now. Talked about going into the year that he would probably have more rushing upside than he's had because, they want to do the tush push and this offense. We just expected it to be better. And it has turned out that way. And a lot of, the failings have been either self-inflicted from Lawrence, missing a couple of throws but then all those crazy drops from his receivers and Diami Brown. So I think he's still got more upward regression to reach, and the Seahawks are a talented defense, but just so banged up. You never know who you're going to get, and we saw them get into this massive shootout with the Bucs last week. I don't think that's out of the question again this week because you still got 2, pretty good offenses in this spot as well. A close spread, I believe it's right around Jacksonville -1 here with a total and high total as well. So it could be a back and forth game. Like Lawrence in this spot, he's always going to have that 4 touchdown upside just because he can run multiple scores in if they need him to. Jacksonville does not seem like a team that really trusts its running back. So just they've never seemed to get a ton of rushing touchdowns, especially without Bigsby. I feel like ETN's always fumbling. I think they gave Tootin got one at one point, but Lawrence, he's going to be involved down by the goal line. I don't think that's a fluke. So, and he scrambles a ton. So love him compared to where he's at. If you need him in a deeper league, QB 16, and I think long-term value, Lawrence is going to be in the discussion every week. So like him this week and going forward.
I think ETN was supposed to get that rushing touchdown though, but Lawrence, decided to fall down and score himself. Maybe that was planned for his birthday, but I think ETN managers are pissed because I think that was supposed to go to him.
Yeah, I mean, he did catch a touchdown at some point, right? This year, I think, but yeah, he could have a few more. It got vultured by Tootin out of nowhere in one game. And there's just been a lot of wonky stuff going on. Brian Thomas Jr. got one. Rushing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, right around the goal line too, like 10-yarder. Yeah.
Who are you low on a quarterback this week?
I'm low on Kyler Murray against the Colts. Bit of a tougher matchup this week just compared to the Titans last week. Arizona's had a pretty easy schedule so far. And, Kyler himself, he's questionable with this foot injury. I don't even know if he's playing this week. But if he is, that could compromise his rushing upside. And more importantly, just his scrambling ability. in general. So it's too early to dock him for that, and I still have him QB 16, projecting him fully healthy. So this is you drafted Kyler Murray to be a QB 1 option every week. So this week he's QB 16. I would consider Trevor Lawrence if he's available, or just downgrading your expectations for Kyler, because this is a tough spot. Maybe the Colts will take a quick early lead and force him to throw. Maybe that helps, but either way, I think this is a tougher spot for Kyler, coming off a pretty poor game last week, all things considered. So yeah, Kyler Murray's all the way down to QB 16 for me.
Yeah, that's just where he's going to be. I mean, he just seems to never fully put it together, especially in the stat sheet. And if he's hurt, we've seen this before where he kind of goes into a shell and he doesn't want to scramble as much. He always kind of second guesses himself in terms of scrambling, because every year I feel like there's always a point or multiple points in the year where he's like, you know what, I got to get back to running. We're at our best when I run. And then he goes out and runs for like 50 yards and a touchdown. And then, 2 weeks later, we're back to nothing. So that might be one of these scenarios yet again. So yeah, he's hard to trust this week, especially with a foot injury. That is not what we want. Again, this is a pretty straightforward week for the top 15-ish, even you could say the top 20 quarterbacks. But I'm going to go, because there are a lot of guys on the fringe, guys that I think you could add on waivers this week. Jackson Dart, who else is over there? Lawrence, obviously. It does. I think it is important to say that Michael Penix Jr. for me is not one of those guys. Right now, he is ranked number 20 in ECR, and this is just not a situation where I really want to target him. I know he's at home, and they're coming off the bye and probably have a fuller strength. I mean, Moody's still questionable as we record this, but should have a full strength receiving core. At least it looks somewhat positive, but still, I don't like this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. I think they are kind of rounding into shape in terms of their pass defense, and Penix doesn't give you much on the ground, which is kind of a death knell for these quarterbacks, because you could have a guy like Jackson Dart who's just giving the ball away to the other team, dropping it on the floor, losing to previously a quarterback who never won a game before. And, he can still finish as like the QB 13 or something like that. So Michael Penix is going to have to do a lot here against Buffalo, not turn it over. Like, it might take more than just some garbage time. And Atlanta is probably going to come out and try to run and just keep the ball out of Josh's hands in this spot. So do not like the spot here at all. And the fact that, he's ranked above like some guys that I would, you're going to have to wait to the end of the week to decide about him. So he's just not an ideal guy for me at all. This week. He's my QB 24. It just doesn't have enough rushing upside to be in that top 20 discussion for me this week. Prop. We got to go Jackson Dart for the third week in a row. I think we might.
Oh boy. It's up to you. It's your prop.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna go with Dart, because he does have. It's an important discussion, because he has that. That early. People have to make a decision on him early in the week, and this Giants receiving core looks decimated. So I'm gonna go with total rushing and passing yards for Dart. And I will set the line to 11.5.
I had 215.5, so I will go with the over. I have it like 180 and 35 right now. Is that kind of how you have the ratio? How many?
Well, I actually have it a little higher, but I did see you were a little lower, so I had it. I had to lower it down, because I thought I was. You got me with the being too low on the rushing last week, and now I'm up to like 45 on the ground for him. But
this is him dealing with the hamstring injury. This is him dealing with the hamstring, and it's a short week.
Very fair. But he doesn't know how to do anything to run.
Yeah, exactly. And then if Slayton's out, that's gonna hurt his upside. So I think combining them, like, he's gonna have an explosive play on one of the two. But yeah, that's a good line. I'm just slightly over, and investing in Jackson Dart is my thing right now, so I'll take his over. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I wanted you to take under. Honestly, I should have put it at my true number, but yeah, I think that's the thing about it is it looks dire for him, but if you look at just the matchup, the Eagles, they might let the Giants hang around in the game, and with these young quarterbacks, you never know when you're going to get that true breakout game because Dart clearly has talent. He's made some mistakes and faced that tough Charger defense, and what do they average, like 3.6 yards per play? So he really hasn't had that true signature game. He started off hot last week against the Saints and then fizzled out in spectacular fashion down the stretch. But with these kind of guys, you never know. I think Dart is kind of he's talented enough for him to just surprise people, and it could be when we least expect it, like on this Thursday matchup against the Eagles that no one really cares about because the total's 40.5, and it's just I don't know when the last time the Giants have been beaten the Eagles. So yeah, I think you're smart for investing in Dart as well. Is Cam Ward just going to be like the worst quarterback? Like, is he just going to be like the Rosen, or I don't even know who's really bad? It seems like Gabriel was already better than him last week. I mean, I know Ward had like the comeback, but like his numbers on the year, it just hasn't. Something hasn't really clicked. I mean, the Cardinals just gave him that game. He made some throws, but is he going to be like the third best or fourth best rookie in this class?
No, I think it'd be too soon to give up on him. Okay. I think he needs better pass catchers, better coaching, and buying some time. I think it's kind of unfair the situation he's in right now. But I agree. Like for like fantasy purposes, yeah, he's going to be near the bottom every week right now. So yeah, it's hard to see anything changing right now for him. But long term, I'm still high on him as a prospect. I wouldn't write him off quite yet. But yeah, we'll see. It's not a great start, to say the least.
Now, let's do a part 2 of this prop real quick. Geno Smith versus Cam Ward turnovers. Turnovers and interceptions plus sacks.
Okay.
Geno Smith is favored by a half. Do you take Ward to have? You got to pick the guy who has less.
Oh,
so Geno, I'm giving Geno like a half interception plus sack edge.
Yeah, I'm pretty close on interceptions. I will take the plus half.
It's the smart play, but I mean, Geno, what is?
Yeah,
he's just not the
same guy. They're not all his fault, though. They're not all his fault, but yeah, but still, he's throwing the same guys every week. You can't get passes
batted down in the red zone, though. You just can't throw some of those because statistically it's not your fault, and it's like this. But in reality, there's certain quarterbacks it just never happens to because they're not even thinking about standing in the pocket in such a way that would force them to throw into a lane where that would happen. So, I mean, yeah, Geno this is not the Geno I remember on Seattle at all. I mean, this is the Jets Geno. But I digress. Let's get into running back top 5 week 6. Koerner, who you got?
I got Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, and Kyren Williams.
Ooh, Kyron's back.
He's
back. To your boy Corum.
He's going to be a Corum breakout then, right? Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
I got a spicy number 1. Josh Jacobs. He's my RB1. Then McCaffrey, Taylor, Bijan, and Devon Achane rounding out the top 5. Who are you high on, Sean?
Yeah, I'm high on Kyren Williams against the Ravens here. Kyren lost the fumble for the second straight game, but Blake Corum fumbled as well, so he was put immediately in the doghouse. Only Kyren can fumble the ball. So either way, Kyren should have a bigger workload this week, and this is a potentially very run-heavy game script against just an absolutely depleted Ravens defense, and they don't have Lamar Jackson, so this is a game they could just lean on Kyren in the run game a ton. The Ravens, they were even without linebacker Roquan Smith. So this is a good spot for Kyren. And the thing about Kyren, when it comes to Blake Corum, it was nice that he was like carving out a role to see RB3 flex value. He would need Kyren to miss time to be an RB1. That's my stance on him. That's always going to be my stance on him. But right now, Kyren is the guy. And when it comes to Kyren, he's been seeing an increase in receiving work. Typically, Stafford targets the running backs at one of the lowest rates you'll ever see. But he's been throwing to Kyren a lot more lately. And it all led to last week, 8 catches, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kyren has 3 receiving touchdowns on the season so far. Only 1 rushing score. I think those will shift more towards the running department. But this week he has, massive touchdown upside, massive rushing upside. He's RB5 for me to open up the week. And then also, got to talk about Quinshon Judkins. He's at Pittsburgh here. He's just been an absolute monster ever since his season debut, where in week 2, where he was eased in with a 13-touch game. Now he's seen 19-plus touches in 3 straight games. It's clear, last week they want a run-heavy, conservative offense with Dylan Gabriel under center, lean on Judkins, their defense to take him home for a few wins the rest of the season. But he had that massive 23 carry, 110-yard game where he had a 40, 50-yard touchdown run called back. So close to even, bigger game. And this week, this is a decent matchup against Pittsburgh, who are around middle of the pack against the run, but they should be able to keep it close enough to give him 20-plus touches again here. So he's just really, rising up my projection ranks, and he's my RB15, but by the end of the week, he could be inside my top 12. So we could see him more involved in the passing game going forward. Just he has more upside than I think people realize. So Judkins, definitely a high end RB2, and still haven't heard of any potential suspension that is possible. We have to keep an ear out for that, but haven't seen anything about that recently. So high end RB2 rest of the way for me with Judkins.
And he looks great. Like he's just,
yeah.
I think all that time off he looks like a man amongst boys out there.
Yeah.
Really good pass the eye test. So I agree. I think this is another spot where the Browns could surprise some people. And they, this is Gabriel. This is Gabriel's job. And I guess are we getting Shador as the backup, or are they going to call Zappy up to be the backup?
Be interesting. Oh, Deshaun Watson's return to practice soon, so
where is he right now?
Could be in the mix soon. Yeah. So
what is Deshaun Watson doing right now?
Who the hell? We don't want to know, but Shador. I think they could do something to prevent him from being the technical backup, but as of now, he is. But I think either way, I think Gabriel has a very long leash. And he's probably going to start rest of the season if they had their wish. But Watson returning could make things interesting. But I don't think they're in a hurry to be starting Sanders anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm just mad they're still giving Jerome Ford carries. What does Judkins have to do for that just not to happen? I mean, I guess Judkins carrying over 20. Yeah.
If you have Samson shares, you're even more pissed about Ford, because what are they doing giving Ford stuff when Samson's sitting there? You have to see what you have in the 4th round pick.
Some coaches, I mean, it's got to be like just a trust thing. He's been with Stefanski, but and I guess he's probably not good in practice. I'll tell you that, because Judkins just breezed right in and he's getting 20+ carries, but he hasn't played many pass snaps either. So I think he's around. It's the Nick Chubb role. I think he was at 25%, despite getting over 20 carries. He's been at 25, 30% in terms of routes run. So this is the Chubb role, but I do love him. A couple guys I want to mention. Assuming Bucky Irving's out again, which it sounds like to me that he is going to be. I know he's listed as questionable as we record this, but it seems like a multi-week from everything they're saying. Rachaad White's my RB6, if that is the case. I was high on him last week too. He's, I know people are kind of looking for Tucker to mix in a little more. Tucker did have that one big game when I think it was him and Bucky and White was out last year. But White has generally, as far as we've seen, been the true starting running back. And that's something they kind of said was going to be the case going in. And lo and behold, he got 72% of the backfield carries, got about 75% of the pass snaps in the backfield. And those are massive numbers. And again, spot the Bucs are favored in against San Francisco. And it could be a close game, could end up being a shootout with the way Mac Jones is playing right now. I mean, geez. So, look out. Rachaad White, I'm going to be so high on him again this week. He might actually get rushing yards. Who knows? And then Ashton Jeanty, I just want to mention because we expected those Cardinals running backs to go crazy last week because they're playing the Titans. So I know Jeanty's been a little bit disappointing so far this year, but this is a blow-up spot for him. So I have him RB7 right behind Rachaad White. I actually might flip that. But he's ECR RB12. This is a blow-up spot. The Titans now have given up 8 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown to running backs in 5 games. That is just almost 2 touchdowns per game to running backs in White. And Jeanty, this is a game when the Raiders are actually favored. When they're up in games, when they're leading, he's usually the guy. He's just been coming off the field a lot because the Raiders have been getting just battered, and Geno Smith has been running back to the sideline angry every drive. So this could be the Jeanty, like another one of those like 3 touchdown blow up spots like he had a couple weeks ago. And then the last guy, then 2 more. Then Michael Carter, I have him about 5 spots higher. I'm still confident that he's going to get the first crack at that lead back role and against the Colts. And yes, they're a road dog, which is the only thing I don't like, but I still have him right around RB20, and he is RB25 in consensus. Just want to point that out because if Kyler's banged up and they have to kind of redo the game plan, this could be still a run-heavy game plan for Arizona. Yeah. There could also be less designed Kyler runs, which I think was good, and Demercado could be in the doghouse. And then finally, Hassan Haskins, he's still the RB42 in consensus. He should be in the top 30, I think. He's going to get the first crack at the early down and just the lead back role. That's what's happened all throughout camp. That is why he made the roster and Kamani Vidal didn't. So I know their snaps were equal last week. I still think if you have to break it down by drive or by snap as a projection next week, it's going to be at least I think a 60-40 to start with Haskins. They really love him. He's gotten goal line. He's been the goal line back in years past. He's been the third down back, and now looks like he's going to get the first crack at early down work as well. So he does have some pretty big upside here. I think that warrants a lot higher rank than 42. So just wanted to mention all those guys because this is a little bit of a messy week at running back.
Yeah. And Jeanty, Chip Kelly made him get rid of his Michael Myers stance heading into the season. Weeks 1 through 3, he averaged 3.1 yards per carry. And then they said, you know what, go do whatever you want. So he went back to the Michael Myers stance in week 4. So the last 2 games with the Michael Myers stance, 5.9 yards per carry. So hopefully they just let him stick with what he's comfortable with because he's looked a lot better the past couple of games. So yeah, just in time for Halloween, right? To go back to the Michael Myers stance, but loving it.
Running back is such a it's so tilting this year with the rookies. I mean, like a week or 2 ago, it looked like, man, Marion Hampton might be terrible, and then it was like, oh, he might be their best rookie, and then Judkins just burst on the scene, and now Jeanty's blown up and Hampton's out, and it's just like a back, and then Ollie Gordon goes missing, and Scadaboo's in them. Like, it's just an interesting year for running backs, especially those rookies. But who are you low on at the position this week?
Yeah, I'm low on 2 guys. Alvin Kamara against the Patriots. He found his way into more of an even timeshare with Kendre Miller. And it's not that Kamara is playing poorly. I mean, he still looks solid at this age. just Miller looks great, and the Saints need to see what they have in Miller because they invested a 3rd-round pick in him a couple years ago. They're at this point they're looking at 2026 and beyond, and they've hinted that they're going to start trading some of their vets away. So Kamara could be on the trade block. I think they might even want to be limiting his workload right now just to make sure he stays healthy to get something in return for him.
Seems like
so.
That.
Yeah. So like this week, he's my RB 26. And you can panic because you probably drafted him earlier, but there's a chance he lands on a team like Chargers, and all of a sudden he's a high end RB2 again. So his long term value could get saved by being traded. Just wide range of outcomes for him rest of the season. But as of now, he's in more of a timeshare with Miller, so that's why I'm a bit lower. And then the other guy I'm low on is Chase Brown. Just continues to struggle in terms of efficiency. Not entirely his fault. The offensive line has been terrible. Jake Browning has been playing awful. They just keep getting these negative pass-heavy trailing game scripts, which, he's managing to get some work. He had 7 catches last week to keep the lights on. As an RB3 flex play, I think Flacco will certainly still pepper him with targets. So, in PPR formats, he's certainly been getting bailed out. But we saw a little bit more Samaje Perine involved last week, which isn't ideal. At some point, they might want to see what they have in rookie Taj Brooks. But either way, this is just a brutal matchup against the Packers. So we'll have to see how this looks with Flacco. Brown is still, seeing enough volume to be in the RB flex range, but this is a tough spot and certainly not what you wanted when you drafted him. But a lot of this was kind of unforeseen. This has sort of been worst case scenario for Brown, but yeah, he's all the way down to RB 28 for me this week.
Oh, he's a little. I actually have him RB 21. It's Kamara that I'm way down. I'm at RB 33 for Kamara. And that's again Taysom Hill. I know he didn't do anything, but the fact that he did get some he got a lot of designed rushing attempts. It doesn't necessarily bode well because Kamara was fine in terms of the usage, and it just kind of shot down last week. They won the game, and like you said, it didn't come out of nowhere because Miller was playing well, but at this point, it seems like there may be something more at play, like a potential trade. So yeah, I would tread lightly with him. I am also low on Tyler Algier. He's a guy that's a borderline RB3 flex play in terms of ECR this week, RB 37. He's my RB 44 just because this is probably a bounce back spot for Buffalo after they lose a tough one to a division rival last week. I know that Buffalo is going on the road here and the Falcons are coming off the bye, but I do think Algier, you have to kind of pick your spots with him, and against potentially the best team in the league, I think raises the odds of the Falcons potentially losing this game. And if you go back to when this current regime took over at the start of last year, just 24%, 76-24 split with him and Bijan Robinson in terms of percentage of carries for each of them. But in wins, it's 58-42 Algier. So like you really want to target Algier in spots where you think the Falcons have a good shot to win, and they're only 4.5 point dogs, so it's not the worst spot. But again, the Bills are arguably the best team in the league, if not top 2, top 3. So not a spot I love for him because I just don't think they're giving him good play calls this year. Like it seems like it's just like a tell every time he's on the field, and he just immediately gets swarmed. So I don't love it. Don't love it. And also, I'm low on Montgomery this week. I know you had that great call about his sister and everything, and he ended up throwing a touchdown, got it on the ground as well. But now I think Jahmyr Gibbs goes back to not having that that impediment because Gibbs hasn't been quite as consistent. He's still been great, but I mean, I feel like Gibbs could be the RB1 maybe if it wasn't for Montgomery cutting in at certain times. So I think this week. You got a road underdog spot outdoors against Kansas City. So it's a spot it doesn't set up well for Monty on paper as that spot last week where, they were on the road. But again, all the extracurriculars just kind of gave him a big boost. So Monty as well. Where are you going for the prop, Sean?
I got a fun one. You got me all excited about the rookie running backs. Both these rookie running backs were both high on this week. These are just really, well, Judkins, it's always a good spot for him, but this is a really good spot for Genty against the Titans. So I'm just going to go. Which running back will have more rushing yards this week, Genty or Judkins?
Ooh, that's a good one because it might. I got to look at that because Genty does more through the air. Judkins is getting limited in his routes. So, yeah, I have Genty projected for about a 50% route rate. Rushing-wise, I do have his carries up because it's finally like a favorite spot. Let's see. I have. Ooh. So yeah, I do have Genty ahead still. So I'm gonna go Genty. I have both of them projected for to kind of scratch 20 carries. Jenkins has been doing that, and then Genty, you're a 5 point home favorite against this Titans run defense. So yeah, I have him having a high volume game as well. So yeah, I have about five yards difference, and I think I would say I do feel a little better about the floor for Genty just because home favorite versus road dog. But yeah, that's a good line. That is definitely a good line. And,
I guess I should have
killing it.
Well, if they tie, I guess you can win that. I should have said it like Genty at -0.5. I do have Genty like 0.3 rushing yards more. So I'd make him the slight favorite, but it's so close this week. And Genty obviously has like the better matchup. But like you said, Judkins, it's almost all exclusively on the ground where, Genty, he's ranked in our top 10 because he is seeing, more pass game usage, but both rookie running backs should smash on the ground this week.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Judkins, he's the only bad rushing. He hasn't had a bad rushing game. I mean, yes, you could call the 3.9 yards a carry against Detroit, but it's still at 82 yards on 21 carries. So he's gonna get his yards. They're trying to make him into the new Nick Chubb. That's why they were just like, we're drafting for scheme and all that. So feel good about both those guys this week. All right, we'll get to wide receiver. Just want to quickly mention that we have a special promotion for those of you who are thinking about subscribing to Action Pro. For a limited time, you can get 33% off a monthly subscription. So for the price of a week, you're getting a month's worth of access, and that includes our NFL prop experts like Sean Koerner and Nick Giffin's picks instantly. So you can always get the best number because these guys are moving lines. Plus, you got MLB playoffs nightly. You got college football in full swing. So now is a great time to experience all that Action Pro has to offer. Just head to actionnetwork.com/pro today to get 33%. That's a good deal off a monthly subscription. Wide receiver, week 6, Sean Koerner. Who you got? Top 5.
I got Puka Nacua, and then like 5-point gap, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Still, I think they're the Spider-Man pointing meme. They're the same person. I'm convinced of it. Emeka Ibuka, number 4. How could you not? And George Pickens to round out my top 5.
Ooh, I thought we were gonna have the same kind of like spicy top 5. It's just spicy because like a lot of these guys just weren't always in it before. But I guess going back to last year, maybe Amon-Ra. But yeah, I have Nacua, Amon-Ra, JSN, Ibuka. So same 4. Okay. But sticking with Jamar Chase as the number 5. He did enough last week. I think we did talk about it on the touchdown show. Like when are we comfortable kind of buying back, on Chase? I think, if they pivot to Flacco here, it can't be any worse than Browning. I don't think. Let me not say that, but either way,
right.
Jamar Chase, I mean, he's too talented for me. And Pickens, it's kind of a similar spot as last week. So that's the only reason I have him like wide receiver 7, just instead of wide receiver 5. But yeah, Pickens is definitely,
I think I haven't done
definitely in the conversation.
Yeah, I haven't done the Joe Flacco update yet, so maybe he will get a boost there. A guy that almost made my top 5, it would have been pretty spicy, and a guy that you loved before the season started. I just want to hear where you have this guy. Courtland Sutton. is my wide receiver 8. Where do you have him?
He's look at the doc.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I am minus double
Oh
digits
shit!
on that.
Oh well, I can't wait to hear that because I was like, that's interesting. Why is Cortland Sutton wide receiver 8? So I will listen to your low on segment. But yeah, I was noticing he was way up there, but I digress.
I also perhaps foolishly already have bet the winless New York Jets to cover the 7.5 point spread. So maybe I'm just biased here, but we'll talk about it in a second. But before we get to that, who are you high on besides Cortland Sutton?
I don't even know if Sutton's kind of like the Tuesday morning, the Abraham Lincoln quote thing. I was just kind of shocked to see that. I have no reason for that, but you might change my mind. But the two guys I am actually high on, where I'm in agreement with my high rank on them, are Quentin Johnston to start. He's my wide receiver 16. I never thought I'd say this. With everybody healthy on the Chargers, he's my wide receiver 16 against the Dolphins. And he's coming off a 4-catch, 40-yard game, which sort of feels like his floor right now, just looking at his underlying usage and everything. Also chipped in a run for 9 yards. I think they could scheme up plays for him with Hampton out. I think the key with Johnston is you just have to get the ball in his hands in space, let him get the yards after the catch. So I think with Hampton out, they're going to look to do that more. But the Chargers should have their way against this Dolphins defense, and they could be more pass heavy without Hampton as well. So this is a spot where Quentin Johnston always has touchdown upside, but this is a game where he probably has even more, potential double dong upside here. So he's my wide receiver 16 to open the week. I think they've really figured out how to use him in this offense. And, teams have to worry about Keenan Allen, Landon McConkey, and Rondé Gatson even. So I love him this week as like a solid
fact.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, because I just wanted to throw in it because to your point on that, Quentin Johnston, 36 first reads per FTN, leading the team compared to 33 for Allen and 27 for McConkey. So Quentin Johnston, he's been the focal point of that offense.
Yep. Yeah,
that's actually second in the league. Guess who else has 36 first read targets? Puka Nacua. And only Olave has more at 38. So Quentin Johnston is tied for second with Nacua and Garrett Wilson there. So
anytime you're on par with Puka in anything predictive like that, sign me up. So
seriously.
Quentin Johnston, he always had that kind of upside. He's not really a downfield kind of guy. Just get the ball in his hands. One of Herbert's favorite end zone targets. So I think we finally carved out the role for him to be a stud. So love him this week. And then our guy, Stephon Diggs. At the Saints. I mean, he went bonkers against his former team. 10 catches, 146 yards. So that's, back-to-back 100-plus yard games now. And you just have to chalk up a slower start due to the fact he's coming back from an ACL tear. He's in a new scheme. But loving the chemistry he's showing with Drake May, who is quickly becoming one of the better passers in the league right now. We knew he had that kind of upside. And he's showing it. And, having a vet like Diggs is helping him unlock that. So this is just a duo that I think is really trending up. I think it's real. So Diggs opens the week as my wide receiver 23. I wouldn't be shocked that by the end of the week, he's inside my top 20. I see no reason not to. So Diggs is someone I'm really high on this week and going forward.
I think before I adjusted anything, Diggs was like wide receiver 6. And then I was like, okay, I need to go in because the one thing is he doesn't his routes haven't been consistent necessarily, and that does introduce some variance. But he's a guy that we've seen this before, even on Buffalo. I think there were times where he would be at like 60-70% routes run, but then just putting up his normal production. And it's because they just kind of scheme him targets when he's on the field and try to maximize them that way. So he's a tricky projection, but I agree. I think this is what he was one of my top sleepers heading into the year.
Yeah.
And even when he started the year kind of slow, like he was still putting up, he's still getting catches, just not, it was like the Wan'Dale Robinson, like 7 for 47 type situations. So,
Right.
But yeah, it's good to see him get back-to-back 100-yard games. I agree.
I would stick with this. I'm going to try to meet you in the middle there, in between this wide receiver 6 and 23, because you're right. The routes run rate are low, which is a concern, but his target rate had just took a massive spike these past 2 games. And looking at his first read rate, I think he could stick with, a 27, 28% target share. So if anything, he's probably going to see more routes going forward. So that's the one area it could, that's where he's going to be top 10 receiver. So yeah, there's not really much holding him back other than his playing time, which they could easily fix. And I don't see why they wouldn't at some point. So yeah, the sky's the limit with him. He's also going to probably be even healthier the farther removed he is from this ACL tear. So yeah, he's definitely, a solid wide receiver 2 option going forward.
Yeah, he's up to 5 receptions now in my model, which how
that's
it's not easy for receivers to get to 5 receptions projected, and that's with a 70-ish% route rate. So it actually took me a bit. I mean, I expected him to do well, but I when I looked at my initial rank, I was like, holy crap, I cannot have a guy that's projected to run 60-70% of around 60-70% of the dropbacks for this much production.
And no touchdowns yet, which that's not good. But
they're coming.
He's going to get touchdowns on top of this going forward is the way I would think about it. So yeah, just massive upside.
Yeah, and can we just get, Kayshawn has been, he's been playing decently, kind of fell off a little bit, but I just want Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, and Efton Chisholm III as the Patriots starting receivers. Can we just get that?
And Travion as the lead back. It'll happen eventually.
No, we need the fumble so that Drake May can continue to grow and
that's true.
Somebody has to take it out. But Stevenson's still getting in the end zone somehow, so I guess they still trust him. Unfortunate what happened to Antonio Gibson, but we digress. High on Devontae Smith this week. Was a little bit high on him last week. It's just it's always scary with a guy like him or any of these Eagles receivers, but this is another spot where I think Devontae could have a good game. Usually when you see these man coverage defenses, it's purely the A.J. Brown show, but the thing about the Giants is they've been covering number 1 receivers a lot better than they have number 2. So this might be a spot, just another one of these spots where it kind of gets, Hurts and Brown kind of get off to one of those shaky starts. And I think Smith is going to be the guy to capitalize because his numbers against man coverage are a lot better this year. They're similar to Brown's in terms of the targets and everything like that. And the Giants are giving up a ton of yards to number 2 receivers, not as many to number 1. So I think it's going to be another sneaky good week for Devontae Smith. So I have him inside my top 25. He's still a wide receiver 28 in ECR. So like Devontae to have another good game this week. And we'll see what's going on with Barkley, but they might even pass a little more if Barkley's still not at full health on the short week. Who you want, Koerner, this week?
I'm low on Jameson Williams, which is a very scary position to take. But, he posted another dud last week. 1 catch, 9 yards, had a rush for 1 yard. Obviously he's going to be volatile every week. But I was just hoping we would see a higher floor from him. And early on it looked like that might have been the case. And was it 2 games ago? He had, a shit ton of air yards, which, kind of thought he would bounce back this week, but post another dud. Obviously he can and probably will, now that I'm saying this, go for 100+ yards and 2 touchdowns this week. He always carries that massive ceiling, but now just based on his floor, we just kind of have to guess now which weeks he's going to produce a fantasy relevant score. And this could be a shootout, against the Chiefs, but it is outdoors. His only big game this year was indoors. He's probably going to be more of a indoors type of guy. So again, he's all the way down to wide receiver 46 for me. I think, if you're a big underdog and he's like your number 3 receiver, I'm okay rolling him out there if you need to tap in to the massive upside. But if you're a big favorite, it's tough to take these, 1-2 point gains from JMO hoping to get the big game. So, he's the really volatile JMO that we expected. As long as Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs are all healthy, it's just he's going to be, high ceiling, low floor guy. So Jameson's a guy that I was hoping could be, a consistent top 30 guy. But yeah, he's outside my top 45, knowing full well, he could post a big score, but not liking the floor we've seen so far through the first 5 weeks.
Nope. He's like a manual adjustment guy for me at this point. He's
Which
just
direction?
as low in my model. Up because
yeah.
he's so low.
Yeah.
Even last week, I adjusted him up because the thing is, when he goes off, he usually makes it worth it. It's usually going to be 100 plus yards and a touchdown. But I agree.
Yeah.
In terms of his median, he is my wide receiver 42. So yeah, it's not great. Not great. But yeah, I'm all on Cortland Sutton this week. And he's down in my wide receiver 19. And part of it is, going up against this Jet defense with Sauce Gardner. And who has actually given up touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. But still, if you look at the numbers for, lead receivers against the Jets, they've held them mostly in check. Metcalf had 83 yards, 4 catches, nothing crazy. Abuka had like his worst game. I mean, 6 catches for 85 yards. That's great for anyone else, but not great for him. Tyreek Hill just at 67 yards, no touchdown, and then Pickens did get the touchdown, but only 2 catches in that game last week. So I do think that, especially with the low total and just also knowing Sean Payton and talked about heading into the year that Sutton was probably the only guy we could trust to be consistent, but now Sutton's had back-to-back good games after
I think
duds
three straight.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I think it's 3 straight now, but
3 straight. Yeah, I'm selling him short. Yeah, because he had the 1 catch for 6 yards at Indy week 2, and then 6 for 118 and 1, 5 for 81 and 1, and 8 for 99. That is something that Sean Payton himself is probably looking at and saying, obviously he's still our lead receiver, but this is probably a good time for Bo Nix to start going to Mims and to Franklin again. And you mentioned Pat Bryant earlier was in the running for Cardio King. He's starting to see more snaps, so there's something set up for that too, because Sean Payton absolutely loves him, compared him to Michael Thomas in the preseason. So I do think this could be a little bit of a letdown spot for Sutton. I mean, he's still a top 20 receiver, but I am tempering expectations just knowing how Sean Payton kind of operates. It's just really tough for guys. It's going to be really tough for guys to get, 4 straight games of these monster numbers, especially with the total sitting at 44 in this game. I mean, this could be a very low scoring game. I think Jets and Broncos played a similarly at a similar time last year, and it was 10-9 or something like that, some ridiculousness. So, just tempering expectations a bit. I think Sean Payton usually is a tendency breaker sooner than later. So, that's the main guy. But I mean, Jameson Williams too. But I'm just going to manually adjust him up and prepare for his 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, we know it's coming.
Oh man! All right, let's see.
Get the prop.
Yeah,
what do you got?
So there's a few different ways I was thinking of going. Let's go. I think we talked about this guy. It's Stephon Diggs, because I think he is a very difficult projection. So let's go Diggs receiving yards. I'm going to go 54.5.
Ooh, I did 53.5. I didn't want to be on his under, damn it, but I'm going to have to because I'm 1 yard lower. But yeah, he obviously has the upside for, 70 plus again. But I think that's a good line. I think his prop will probably be, 50.5, and I'd want the over. Damn it. Yeah.
I can see it being a little higher. I can see it being a little higher just coming off the primetime game. Because, no one's betting unders.
I know that.
Maybe
I know that
at this time of the week.
That's against the Saints. Someone not give me the over. I'd rather root for the over here. But that's that's very close to that.
That is I'm glad you switched. I think that's the right side. I think we're went.
We're both being conservative with our routes run rate,
yep.
And again, that's the key. That if that goes up, then this is too low.
I was almost going to just give you a pick 'em between Diggs and Olave because I have them projected for very similar stat lines, like 5 catches, high 50s yards,
and they're facing each other.
So that's an interesting one too. But I just wanted to kind of get the Diggs projection squared away, and I feel like this is the right spot to have it in. So somewhere in those mid 50s, I think is fair. But he could double that very easily in this spot as well. All right, let's close it out with tight end, Sean. Which tight ends are in your top 5 for week number 6?
Yeah, crazy week. I'm guessing Bowers is out, so I got Jake Ferguson number 1, then Trey McBride, Tyler Warren, Travis Kelce, and Tucker Kraft.
Ooh, Bowers. That hurt me last week. I ended up betting the Raiders, and Bowers is out, and that offense did not look good last week. Let me just make sure my rankings didn't change since. Yeah, okay. So I have McBride, Ferguson, Tyler Warren, Sam Laporta, and Tucker Kraft. So, and then Bowers would be my tight end 6 because I would project him for fewer routes. But he's probably just gonna miss again. And then Kelce is kind of knocking at the door as well for me at tight end. He would be my tight end 6 if Bowers is out. Who are you high on?
I'm actually high on Michael Mayer. And this is because I think, the Raiders tight end room is a mess right now. I thought it was going to be Carter Runyon that potentially stepped out last week. It was Albert O of all people, and they have Ian Thomas. So it sounds like Bowers is closer to week, so I'm just projecting him out. Doesn't mean he's out this week. But Mayer seems more likely to return this week. I think he's missed 2 games now with a concussion. So, hopefully he's well enough to, clear the protocol this week and play. And he would be, potential low-end tight end 1 option if that were the case, because he should command, a pretty big role. We have to remember he was a very high-end tight end prospect a couple years ago. But ever since, they drafted Bowers, that really, slowed down his career arc. So I think he's fully capable of stepping up in a full-time role and, posting low-end tight end 1 numbers. So just going to mention him. Again, a lot of things can happen. He might not even play this week. Bowers could play. But as of now, I have Mayer as my tight end 14, just assuming, best case scenario for him.
So how are you breaking out the routes between, assuming Bowers is out, so it's Mayer, Alberto, and Ian Thomas, I guess, would be the top 3. Are you giving Mayer that Bowers role and then Alberto the Mayer role, or is it more equal?
So I have Mayer at just 55% routes run rate, which I think is very reasonable. And then I have Ian Thomas 25 and Albert O 30, 35. But there's no Brock Bowers, hogging a bunch of targets. It's just Kobe Myers, Trey Tucker, and Thornton there. So, we did see a lot more Jack Besh last week. He's kind of like a hybrid tight end option, really. But just there's so many targets up for grabs with Bowers out. That's why Mayer is popping on my model. But again, just a 55% routes run rate, which, he could easily be 70, 75%. And he has a lot of talent. So I think he's just given Bowers, the last couple seasons, I think Mayer's a little bit under the radar right now. And this could be his time to shine.
Yeah, I mean, very talented guy. Just kind of got pigeonholed into the inline role. That's why I asked, because there's like a part of me that's like, wait, is Albert O just going to get the Bowers role, and is like Mayer going to be the inline guy again? I
Who
can never
knows?
predict these tight ends, but I agree. I think even if you project them conservatively, you should have some upside in the spot, and this should be a game where they do move the ball. Just don't turn it over, Gino. Get to the goal line, and I think Mayer would be an interesting touchdown bet as well. Speaking of touchdown bets, guy that you hit on Thursday night last week, I am high on this week. Jake Tonjes. I actually think that if the receivers return for the Niners, Pearsall, who missed last game, Juwan Jennings, who missed the last game. Not that they really missed those guys, because Mac Jones just kept on humming, hitting Kendrick Bourne for 142 yards. But Tonjes, he was up to an 80% routes run rate last week. So essentially the George Kittle role, except the Bucs, they're banged up in the secondary, and so they got to kind of dedicate coverage to these other guys that are just more dangerous than Tonjes. So it wouldn't be like Kittle in terms of the coverage. So I think this is a kind of a sneaky spot for him, where there are a lot of tight ends bunched together in that tight end, 12 to 20 range, and some of them have better matchups than others. So I think Tonjes has a very good matchup here. The Bucs are 27th in DVOA against tight ends, and a lot of guys that he's kind of competing with, if you're streaming, could have lower floors in this spot just because, the matchups are tough, or like in a Theo Johnson's case, you would have to decide to use him, or even if it's Goddard, you would have to decide to use those guys by Thursday. So yeah, I like Tonjes as a streamer this week, and I am high on him. He's my tight end 12, so 6 spots higher than consensus. But I'm looking at the guy you're low on, and I'll just mention Taysom Hill. Just Taysom Hill. Obligatory Taysom Hill mention, because he was a little too quiet last week, but did get 6 carries, did complete a pass. And he didn't get injured. He didn't tear an ACL, as far as we know. And to your point, there's even an outside chance, right, that Kamara gets traded this week. So that would make Taysom Hill RB2. So because Neal's been they've only been activating 2 true running backs, and I guess Velus Jones can play it, but he's been all special teams really. So I like the upside for Taysom anyway. But if you're telling me there's a chance that Alvin Kamara, the lead ball carrier on the Saints, could get traded, then I want Taysom Hill. I want a part of Taysom Hill, whether it's DFS, prop, something. So just wanted to obligatory. I'm going to keep mentioning him every week that he's healthy, I think. But and shout out to our guy D Payne, our producer, who loves Taysom. But who are you all on?
Yeah, you already teed it up, but Juwan Johnson, he's my tight end 15, and this, the Patriots have been vulnerable against tight ends, so this is a good spot for him. But I kind of hinted at this a couple weeks ago that his value had probably peaked when everybody was out, and he was running a 99% routes run rate, and he was my tight end 6. But a lot's happened since then. Again, Taysom Hill returned. That's kind of a massive blow for a lot of the Saints players around the goal line. Taysom Hill's just going to siphon some touchdowns, but also Foster Moreau came back. So he ate into Juwan's actual tight end routes a bit. So, he's probably going to get more and more healthy and see more and more work. They probably don't want Juwan Johnson running a 99% routes run rate. That's not how they've operated with him the past few seasons. So we just have to look at that. But, you got Olave playing well, Shaheed back to making big plays. So just a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. If Kamara gets traded this week, I don't know if it's this week or next week or whenever, maybe, Juwan will get a slight boost from that. But either way, just that massive usage we saw, that massive playing time has taken a hit. So I'm factoring that in. But this is a good matchup against the Patriots. They have been vulnerable to tight ends. So he's still a very solid high-end tight end 2 option. But I think the days of being, my tight end 5 are probably over at this point. So he's opening the week as my tight end 15.
Yeah, and you just never know. Like, I think Taysom Hill just creates a lot of variance around the tight ends in general, because number one, they played 4 last week. Jack Stoll still had a role, even with Moreau and Hill back, and Johnson leading the way. And now we don't know if Taysom Hill becomes that, 50% snap tight end again that he was at points last year. And Moreau was a guy that was, I know it was a different coaching regime, but he was a guy that was seeing a ton of snaps too. So you just never know if it could be like a more severe kind of downturn too, even more than we've seen to this point. So yeah, I think the floor is pointing downward for Johnson, even though the matchup is good. And I also have am low on Johnson, but that's Theo, and that's just, again, number one. I don't think he's like the perfectly ideal play this week, just based on this glut of tight ends. Because number one, it's a Thursday night game. The total's 40.5, and you would have to make a decision. And number two, the Eagles have been good against tight ends, number 2 in DVOA against the position. And that's because they play the second lowest rate of zone coverage. Fangio, he's got the horses to play a lot of man coverage and kind of match up how he wants to with all the talent on that defense. And usually when you see a defense that doesn't play as much zone, it usually tends to hurt tight ends, sometimes running backs as well, because it just kind of leads to inherently targeting receivers more. Now, I don't know if the Giants have any receivers. And I think that's why, he might be in consideration, but he's actually more of a, fringe top 25 tight end this week than a top, 15, 20 guy for me, just because there's so many other guys like Barner and, all Tonjes and just a host of guys that I think are a little bit more reliable, and you can wait until Sunday to make those decisions. So yeah, low on Theo this week. All right. Tight end prop. Is it Taysom Hill or is it somebody else?
Oh, no, it's not Taysom Hill. Can't do that quite yet. Although, did you see the Chargers just sign a running back?
Who they signed? Nah,
it's not a big deal. It's Nyheim Hines.
He was in camp with them. That's interesting. So I wonder if maybe they don't elevate Amar Johnson, which then would be very good for that, double kind of touchdown bet with Vidal and Haskins, because I don't think Hines would get much offensive work, right? He would be mostly special teams. And Darius Davis, is he going to be out? He would probably be the RB3 if he was healthy.
That's what I had that written down in my projections. Whenever Austin Eckler was out, Darius Davis would see a few carries and act like a pass catching running back. So that's a good call. You got to monitor his availability. Brent Strange has also been placed on IR while we've been recording. Not going to have a
Hunter
problem.
Long.
Yeah, Hunter Long, baby. I'm gonna do Dalton Kincaid versus Darren Waller receiving yards. And I'm gonna make Waller a half-yard favorite. Who are you taking?
Oh man, yeah. Kincaid has just been, despite the low route. He's like the Stephon Diggs. He's the new Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. Low route rate, but found just producing
the replacement. Yep.
No, seriously though, I think he's the tight end one in PPR, right? And then in half he's the tight end 2. So, man, let's see. So I'm guessing it's gonna be Kincaid, but that's just a guess. Let me actually. Ooh. No, that's uncomfortable. I actually have.
You see what I'm seeing? It's close.
You said Waller's the favorite, or
I said Waller's the half-yard favorite.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me do some background research real quick, just because I have it really close to the point where I want to.
I know. I'm letting you decide because I have them essentially tied. But yeah, Waller's been a beast too, and Tyreek's out, so he's got some upside.
Oh, and then the Falcons give up they haven't. Well, actually, no, they have played some. They played Hawkinson, Ertz, but the Falcons have given up nothing to tight end. Huh, that's interesting. They're leading the league in fewest yards. They've given up 69 yards in 4 games to tight end, a league low. So yeah, I got Waller about 2 yards above, about 3 yards above Kincaid. So I'm just going to stay true to that and take him as the half-point favorite. The on-paper matchup is not giving me much confidence. Now, I know it might be irrelevant because, like I said, guys like Kincaid just glorified slot receivers a lot of the time. But still, yeah.
Chargers have been.
I have to go with the projection.
Chargers have been pretty solid too. Zach Ertz, I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
but
they've been good. But look at the Falcons.
0 catches.
The Falcons are giving them nothing.
0 catches. Giants easy. Broncos easy. Bowers, they held Bowers to 38 yards. Kelsey to 2 catches. So yeah, I mean Derwin James is part of that, but tough matchup for both. But yeah, both of them have massive upside right now.
Yeah, I mean, Waller's actually. Let's see,
and you're not kidding. The Falcons, holy shit. Waller, 65%. I think last week is going to be the norm, but he has room for more.
Yeah, I'm at exactly 65% as well, and that is, I think, the same as. Oh no, Kincaid 62.5. So yeah, got Waller projected for more routes, and that's where those that extra couple yards are coming from. So yeah, gotta stay true to that and go with the projection. But yeah, I'm fully prepared for a 6 for 118 Dalton Kincaid game. All right, that is going to do it for our NFL player projections podcast here on the Fantasy Flex Week 6. Make sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex podcast so you do not miss an episode all season long. Our waivers episode for Week 6 already dropped, and we'll drop our DFS episode tomorrow where we build cash lineups on DraftKings and FanDuel. Don't forget to check out the Fantasy Labs app for all of our projections, and make sure you use code FLEX20, that's FLEX20, for $20 off an NFL sub. We will be back with our DFS preview, as I mentioned, tomorrow, and also on the Action Network podcast, if you're into touchdowns, Koerner, myself, and Jill Gallant do a show there on Friday where we give out anytime touchdown bets for every single game. So check that out as well. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Go download it, screenshot some bets at Playbook on X, and it'll build you a bet slip. So that's another cool thing we got going on. Until next time, let's get this money.